It was June 2014, just one short year and a half ago, when the clouds of modern gaming parted and down from the heavens descended Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight is an indie platformer game that was a huge success on Kickstarter and has since seen a full release to popular and critical acclaim alike. The game won multiple awards, and for good reason. The controls are incredibly tight, nothing in the game feels like it was put there just to pad out the length of the game or the way the game is played. The speedrunning community is pretty tight, it's got some pretty cool world records there. It's very speedrunning friendly. And oh my god, the bosses! Also, there's probably quite a bit of nostalgia involved in it, but god, the bosses are so awesome! All the standard enemies in the actual levels of the game are pretty straightforward and they are repeating throughout the entire game, but all the bosses have dialogue and all the bosses have unique levels, themes, and ways that they fight that make them all feel like unique characters, and they all have great dialogue which makes them feel more memorable, and it's really easy for the player to remember them and make them feel like they were special. The boss is not the player, the player's not special. But the favorite of the internet, for some reason, seemed to be Plague Knight. To the internet's credit, the stage was awesome. There was great music, there was unique enemies like the slime knights and the birds that would drop things and the little guys who would throw potions at you, and the boss himself was really unique in that every other boss followed a pretty set pattern in how they fought you. Even if it wasn't a strict pattern per se from when you started, they might do things in different orders. Plague Knight was incredibly wild and random. He would just do jumps to different parts of the stage. There was no way of telling where he was going to land, and there was no way of telling when he was going to do any particular move. He was the most randomly generated boss of the entire game, which made him more memorable to the player. All of the Kickstarter stretch goals were met, which means that we get to play as certain bosses in alternate campaigns. And if you've been paying any attention to the Shovel Knight Yacht Club news recently, you would know that the new expansion is coming out this week, September 17th. And the first campaign is going to be Plague Knight! Yes! Ah! So in anticipation for the free DLC that is coming out for Shovel Knight later this week, Yacht Club Games has released a trailer, which isn't really new. But more new than that is there's a release date, which was this Thursday, September 17th, and there was a press kit that was released on their website, and I, Mr. Pinguino, have taken it upon myself to make that into a list of things that you really ought to know before jumping into Plague of Shadows. Let's get the most basic information out of the way first. Yes, the levels are the same. Yes, the bosses are the same. During the reign of the Order of No Quarter, Plague Knight is out looking for ingredients to create a potion of ultimate power. And to do this, he must collect ingredients from his fellow Order Knights. So rest easy, you will still be able to make fun of Tinker Knight. Now this bit of info comes from an older playable demo from about 6 months ago. There have been some changes to the HUD, so it's a little bit up in the air with regard to how much of this applies to the final version that gets released this week. Taking a page from nearly every game to come out in the past 3 years, Yacht Club Games might be adding a crafting system. Ingredients picked up from enemies or found out in the field could be used to unlock new equipment or abilities rather than simply buying them. Money will still have its place, more on that later, but based on the information from the press kit, I figure the crafting mostly pertains to bombs! Bombs come in all sorts of shapes and sizes in Plague of Shadows. Just like his boss battle in the original game, you'll be using bombs to explode your enemies. Unlike Shovel Knight, Plague Knight doesn't have an interchangeable suit of armor to change his abilities. Instead, he uses custom combination of bomb parts to take control of specific situations. Need a bomb that takes an extra long time to explode? Use a longer fuse. Want to detonate remotely? Got that covered. Want to have a bomb that drops at your feet, waits for an enemy to walk over it before it explodes into a wall of flame traveling in both directions? Actually, you can do that, yeah. Based on the lack of purchasing information in the press kit, this is probably how you're going to be spending your crafting ingredients. Relics are a thing of the past. Literally, relics are an object surviving from an earlier time, especially one of historical or sentimental interest. But Plague Knight wants only for power, not historical context. Instead of the relics that were used in the original game, Plague Knight uses Arcana, magical abilities that help him power through obstacles. Basically, these serve the same function, but provide some flavor to the story and make them a bit more unique to Plague Knight. Fortunately, if you find any relics, you can sell them to Chester in exchange for Arcana, or possibly discounted Arcana. Talked about the money earlier that would come back into play later. Who knows, maybe Chester will be able to sell those relics to another knight, clad in illustrious armor, spends his free time digging around? Yeah, that's the one. Anyone who has tried speedrunning Shovel Knight will be able to tell you how important it is to be able to change your jump height by holding the button for different amounts of time. You've got a tall hop, a medium hop, and a short hop. Unfortunately, that is a thing of the past. Plague Knight now has a constant jump height. If you tap the button, he jumps a certain height. Hold down the button, he jumps that same exact height. Instead, he does all sorts of aerial maneuvers. To make up for constant jump height and slower walk speed, Plague Knight has bomb bursting. This allows you to use your bomb explosions as a propulsion system to cover long distances, and you can use it repeatedly to cover huge gaps. You hold down the attack button to charge up a bomb burst and release it to fly through the air in any direction, then jump again to cover even more ground, or you can jump straight up to just kill all of your momentum. You can even charge up your bomb burst when moving between screens or getting hit by enemies, so this is something that every player will want to keep an eye on at all times. This is probably the biggest change. The change from shovels to bombs and relics to arcana changes how Plague Knight interacts with enemies, but the new momentum systems change the way the player interacts with Plague Knight himself. Mastering the ability to use bomb bursting and jumping in tandem will be necessary to get a whole new set of feats and reach every corner of every level. And that was the top 5 things you need to know about the transition from original Shovel Knight to Shovel Knight Plague of Shadows. If you learned some interesting stuff from this video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you want to check out the Let's Play of Plague of Shadows when it comes out, hit that subscribe button. In the meantime, why not check out my Let's Play of the original Shovel Knight? Or if you're looking for something where I actually have a better idea of how to do anything, check out my Amnesia Machine for Pigs series. And as always, thanks for watching.